you see babies.
Yeah.
You get them pregnant. You get them pregnant. So guys, welcome back to Island's Got Curves show on the plus side. And today I'm talking about quite a serious issue with Denise of fertility. Denise runs Health and Harmony, which is a natural fertility business, and just want to have a chat. It's something, Denise, that affects a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah, it's 1 in 6 couples is the official figure, but that research is probably about 8 years old. So if they were to go through that research again, I would imagine it's going to be closer to 1 in 4.
Okay, so it's a lot of people and very heartbreaking. I mean, I was lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones that when we're talking about fertility, people hate me because I was lucky and I had no problems. But I do have friends and I do have people close to me. Every month, Denise, when they get that period, it is like a death in the family. Yeah. It's like mourning a loss.
Yeah.
It's such a serious issue. So people come to you, and what do you do for them?
Well, I look at everything with them. I look at their nutrition, their lifestyle, their stress levels. That's a big issue with a lot of couples. Not only the stress of their normal life, but the stress of trying to get pregnant. That's an added stressor. Just kind of look at the whole. And I have a mind-body approach. So I'm looking at not only the physical stuff that's going on, what's happening particularly with the woman, what's happening with her cycle and her bleed, but also what other factors are creating a negative message.
I think when you say stress, that is huge. I mean, as I say, I know people that are in this situation, and making love becomes a chore. It becomes, now's the time, let's do it, let's perform, and let's just get pregnant. It's not let's enjoy each other anymore. So
yeah, because when you first get together as a couple, you're making love a lot, and there's a lot of eye contact, there's a lot of kissing, there's a lot of touching, holding hands, and when you're involved in that, just the struggle to get pregnant, all of that goes by the wayside, and all of a sudden you're not a loving couple anymore. You're just two people who happen to be trying to create a baby together.
Right, yeah. And it becomes focus of everything that they do and how they are. So stress is big. Why has it suddenly peaked? Is there any research for that? Why has it suddenly become so much like 1 in 4?
There's a lot of reasons. The biggest one is the food that we're eating. It looks like food, it smells like food, but really it's just an amalgam of chemicals. And even if you look at farming techniques now, how much they've changed, even in the last 50 years, the soil is fertilised using chemical fertilisers. There could be some chemical interference with the seed. From the point that the seed is actually inserted in the soil to when it reaches the supermarket shelf as a finished product, along with preservatives, there could be 8 layers of chemicals inserted in that food product. And they're all hormonal disruptors, so that's having a huge effect on male and female fertility, because that's affecting the sperm as well.
And that is the thing, I think years ago it used to always be the woman's barren, and if you got married and you know, you as a couple, or not married, but if you were trying for babies and you know you wasn't getting pregnant, it was always like, what's wrong with her? Which is a big pressure. Do couples blame each other, blame themselves? Is that still going on?
It can get to that. And what I find happens sometimes is that, you know, because there's such a huge ego issue connected with the guy and the sperm, it can be quite difficult to get him on board to accept that there are potential changes to make. And I suppose I have quite a unique approach on that, because I believe from the moment you make a conscious decision that you're going to create a baby together, you're a parent. Okay. And when that child arrives, you co-parent. You make sure that they're warm, they're safe, they're fed well, they're loved. So why not make that decision?
That's very true.
Prior to conception? Why not be more conscious about that? And that seems to be an approach that gets the guys on board in terms of making any changes, because you know, you do get these guys who say, there's nothing wrong with my sperm, or even ones who've had a sperm test and they wave their little piece of paper around like an NCT test.
Yes.
But we all know that you take the car for the NCT, and if it passes, that doesn't mean that every single moving part on the car is fine for the next year. It just means that what they've tested is okay.
Okay,
So,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And women, we're kind of born with all our eggs,
Yeah.
are we? Is that the way it
Yeah.
works? Yeah. I don't know. I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true, when you get later and before you're actually going to your menopause, your body seems to be firing out all these eggs, and that's your time to be really careful. Is that a myth or is that true?
I don't think it's so much that. It's just that the hormones are playing havoc when you go into perimenopause. And if you're missing periods and, you know, and you think, oh, okay, well, I'm safe to, you know, I'm not going to produce a baby now because
Yes.
I'm not getting periods anymore. It's simply not true. So
Okay.
then,
Okay, so everyone out there, be careful, right? Okay. And so the other thing about it then is, so a couple that just start trying for a baby and it's not happening, you know, 1-2 periods, is that time to get worried, or when should you actually start thinking something's up here, we're not getting pregnant?
Medically, the medical approach is, if you've been trying for a year and your cycle is good and nothing is happening, that's when you're usually referred on for further testing. Or if you've got pregnant more than once and miscarried,
Yes.
then they'll send you for testing as well. But again, you know, my whole approach is don't wait for the problem. Make a decision that you're going to start a family, and then look at what changes you need to make in order to make sure that you're creating a happy, healthy baby.
Absolutely, and I mean that comes down to, God, maybe 25 years ago, I was told you're starting a family, start taking folic acid, and you know, as I say, a quarter of a century ago we were told that. But as you say, with lifestyle and work, we seem to be a lot more stressed at work, Denise, than we used to. Is that true, or is it just because I've grown up and now I know what stress is?
No, I do think that's true. I think there are a lot more stresses on. You know, and women are in the workplace more than they ever were 25, 50 years ago, and they have to perform as well as, if not better than, their male counterparts. That is an added stressor as well. One of my biggest kind of, the 3 biggest groups of clients that I have will be nurses, teachers and guards.
Wow. Yeah.
So for the, you know, all 3 of them, very stressful occupations. Nurses and guards, they work shifts, that adds on an extra layer. Guards in particular have to become a pseudo man, put on a uniform, pair of trousers, and forget everything about being a woman. So they're creating not only physical blocks, but mental, emotional blocks as well.
Right, wow. It is a whole mind, body, soul process. I should say, some people, so easy, they go out, they don't even want to get pregnant, and, you know, Murphy's Law, they end up pregnant. And other people want it so badly, and, you know, yeah, it's an unfair world. But people can go for help, and that's the main thing. How would they find you if they were looking for help? Obviously, you guys will be putting links down below and stuff, but you're on Facebook, or?
I am on Facebook. Health and Harmony Loughrea is my Facebook page. My website is healthandharmony.info. Instagram, Health Loughrea, and Twitter is Fertility Galway.
Okay, so loads of different methods. Just wanted to ask you about the whole fertility issue and everything else. If you have, as a couple, we've mentioned before, like the case of having children with other partners. If as a couple you've had children before, are you safe after that going forward?
No, not necessarily. Lots changes. You know, number one, you've got a child or children. They're keeping you busy. You could both be working as well, and, you know, added stressors, juggling nursery and bills and the mortgage and 1 or 2 children. So already there's increased pressures. Your nutrition could change if you're overdoing things and eating on the hop and not necessarily eating, you know, from a fertility nutritious perspective. And then of course, you know, kind of the sperm issues and the egg issues as you get older. You know, that your egg reserve does drop. So, but then Mother Nature has this really efficient way of kind of choosing the most healthy egg anyway.
Okay.
But then the egg has to meet a healthy sperm as well.
Okay.
So there's lifestyle factors and stress and nutrition that would all kind of impact on the chances.
What would be, I'm going to really put you on the spot here now, Denise, what would be like some of the urban myths or the old wives' tales or things that just simply aren't true? Do you know that people seem, if you have a problem, people seem to have a cure for it with a cup of tea or a slice of brown bread or what shouldn't you listen to?
I think probably the biggest urban myth is, restricting lovemaking around the time of ovulation to save the egg and save the sperm. In fact, what that's doing is sending a message to the body for the rest of the month that you don't want to get pregnant. And we all know a couple, like you mentioned, we know couples that have been together for a very short period of time that all of a sudden find themselves pregnant and they're going, I have no idea how that even happened. And of course it happened because they're making love a lot. That raises their fertility hormones because it's triggering a response to tell their body we're ready to get pregnant.
Right.
So by restricting that to this 2 to 4 day fertile window, you're switching off that response for the rest of the month.
So you're actually having the opposite effect. That's so interesting because I've often heard of people, the quality of sperm and protect the sperm and all of this, but obviously, and as you say, every 3 days you're getting new sperm, so that's obviously, that doesn't count. And tell me, Denise, I've seen, and one of the reasons I've contacted you, I've heard of people being very successful through you and getting pregnant and having babies and everything else, without names obviously. Is there any stories you can share with us?
There's lots of lovely stories actually. There's one in particular, there's a couple who are due shortly, and when I first met them, they both had to make changes to lifestyle and nutrition, but he in particular had to make some massive changes because he had 2 jobs, and in order to function, in order to fuel his energy for those 2 jobs, he was self-employed, he was drinking 11 lattes every single day.
Oh wow. And caffeine.
I would not have thought there was even enough waking hours to consume 11 lattes, but he found them, and he gave that up overnight. I said to him, you'll have to do that gradually. You can't go from 11 to 0. And he did. He just went cold turkey, gave them all
headaches central.
And 3 months later, his wife found out she was pregnant. He's eating this healthy bowl of fruit and yogurt, and she popped the pregnancy stick under his nose, and he went, well, I don't need that anymore. And he put down the bowl of fruit.
Picked up the coffee again. Cheers! Congratulations. That's lovely. It must be such a rewarding job, though. I can't even call it a job.
No, I can't call it a job.
What would it be like? A thing you do? It must be so rewarding, though, to have stories like that. Because,
amazing.
As I said, for couples that are trying out there, people don't understand how desperate it is. It can be very, very hard, and to see there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just inspiring. It really is. So what would be the percentage rate of people that come to you that you see babies and you get them pregnant? You get them pregnant.
I'd just say, I can't remember what expression I use now, but it is kind of something like that. I've got another baby coming or something like that. My success rate is 70%.
Oh wow.
So it is pretty high. So the assisted fertility is between kind of 25-35%. So I kind of look at it that my success rate is the kind of the IVFL rate in a way. And I have 46 babies born. There's 2 more babies born due this month.
Hold on, did you say 4 to 6?
46.
46 babies. I even got that much children. Wow. That's
so by the end of the year, please God touch wood, there'll be 50 babies.
Oh wow. That is that is what got you into this?
My own journey really. I had no problem getting pregnant. Got pregnant with my daughter, had an amazing pregnancy and gave birth, and during the birth there were some complications, which meant that there was some damage done. What happened after that is that every time I got pregnant I couldn't hold.
Okay.
So I suppose my journey is slightly different to the ones who can't get pregnant at all, but in fact the way that if I'd have met me 20 years ago, I believe my story would be different. I probably wouldn't be sitting here now.
Okay.
I would still be working in London as a legal executive, probably trekking into London every day. But I'm here directly because of that journey. I moved into holistics from law, because of the miscarriages.
That's a complete contrast.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like law and that kind of mentality, I presume, and holistic. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm generalising, but it
is
would
a
be...
complete, black and white thinking is kind of the legal bit, because you're either right or you're wrong. There's no middle ground in law.
Yeah.
But with holistics, there's always a way to blend things that isn't black and white.
That harmonise.
Yes.
Maybe that's why you come up with your
health and harmony.
Health and harmony. Yeah, because it's hand in hand. It really is. And I mean, not just for fertility, but for health in general.
Yeah.
We're often hearing it, instead of paying your money to your GP, not that if you need to go to a GP, go to a GP, but looking at alternative and preventative and all of that kind of thing is often means so much more.
Yeah, and I think Ireland's pretty good at that. I mean, we're used to paying for our health. You have to pay to go to the GP, you have to pay, to get a prescription, you have to pay to get a medical test done. So we're used to that. But I think there is a shift, and it's a really subtle shift, but I have seen it, that we're moving from an illness culture to a wellness culture. And in that move, that's when we're taking responsibility for our health, and not just fertility health, our general health as well.
Health in general. But that's going to stop the conversation now in the old spa or in the old gas station when you're like, how are you doing? Oh, this and hurts and that hurts. Now it'd be like, I'm great. And then the conversation's finished. I suppose there's always the weather. Denise, thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us today. That's amazing. A big subject, 15 minutes doesn't quite cover it, but I will leave the links down below, and if you've got any questions, I'm sure that you can feel free just to get in touch.
Contact me.
Perfect. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.